All right, here we are, back again, May the 24th, Memorial Day weekend. So, yeah, I don't know about you guys, but my Memorial Day fun will be here at the house because I don't do a whole lot of going out and doing, to be honest with you. So, what about you, Steve? You got anything special planned or
No,
anything like that?
No, I've got things. I got to leave. I got a work conference up in Bemidji. Bemidji, Minnesota is northern half of the state, Wednesday through Friday. And so I got to get some things done now to stay caught up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right now we've got a small little thunderstorm rolling through, but I think tomorrow's supposed to be nice again. It's been a generally nice weekend. So I know people have been getting out. It's also a good reason just to stay home, stay off the road. So, no, I got other things coming up. So this weekend is kind of get some things taken off the list and around the house and in the shop and get ready for some travel days.
Well, it's been raining here, I think, since Friday. Late Friday, it started raining, and I don't think it's quit very long at a time since. But yeah, staying in the shop mostly because I can't do a whole lot outside. I am noticing that the grass is taking full advantage of the rain, and my yard is going to need some work once it quits raining because it is like the robots. They don't like working in the rain, so when it rains, it times them out. I've got them set like for 7-hour delay after a rain shower. And of course, we've only had like an hour in between showers. And so they've just been parked. Luckily, I did run a good bit of the yard Friday before the rain got here. So it's not going to be too terrible, but there's going to be even the weeds and stuff that I have to weed eat and all that. It's just going to be crazy. So there'll probably be lots of yard work in my schedule next week. But yeah, today I was just lazy today. I kind of sat down and watched some TV and just relaxed for a little while today because I haven't done that in a long time. I'm 7 days a week typically doing something related to the business, the channels, jobs, or something. So today was just kind of a step away day, I guess you could say.
Well, everybody needs that. It's healthy. I mean, I know I went, but actually looking back, I've always had, primary job and secondary job and sometimes tertiary side, and it's easy to get burned out on something that way. And so that was kind of what led to my evolution here is that I was doing the foam flight model airplane thing and going to a lot of traveling around to shows, setting up my vendor booth, developing products, shipping things from online, all that stuff. And it was good, but it was wearing on me, and COVID kind of gave me a reset to go, price has gone up on materials. Maybe I'll change gears. So got to be careful that you don't burn that candle too much without taking a rest.
Yeah. It's just been, like I said, since I've retired, I've been focusing heavily on trying to, build the business here, stay caught up with jobs. And then like the past month, baseball season was beneficial for me. I've gotten to where I don't advertise a lot anymore because between the stove covers and the channel stuff, and I stay busy as I want to be. You know what I mean? I don't have a desire to have a whole lot of extra work. And so I don't advertise the way that I once did, but I still do put stuff out there, and it never fails. Jobs are going to come in. And last month was probably one of the busier months I've had in probably a year or so. Like I think it was busier. Last month for me was busier than Christmas was, which is saying a lot because typically the Christmas season I get busy. So yeah, it was good to be able to catch my breath and get my feet under me for a day or two. Of course, the stove cover board is up to 6 on order, but all of those that are ordered have been ordered in May. And so typically when those are ordered, I have about a month to get them ready. So as long as I get those done within the next week or two, I should be good. But yeah, it's been very busy, no doubt. Looking forward to getting some time off. And I was just telling Steve before the live started, and we don't have anything solid yet, but if you're up Steve's way or within however far you consider driving distance of Steve, it's looking like the first week or so of July, I'm going to get to see what Minnesota looks like unless something comes up. Like I said, that's heavily dependent on, no issues or anything coming up between now and then. But tentatively speaking, somewhere around the week after the 4th of July, I'll be in that area, or that weekend of the 4th of July. I'll be in that area. So that's the plan.
I feel like we got to put an asterisk on that, because you're going to see what part of Minnesota is.
Well, my wife and everybody's like, we'd like to go at least see a Great Lake. And I'm like, y'all realize that he's quite a ways from the Great Lakes. Like that's another, like that's another day's travels to go up there and then come back.
It's about 4.5 hours from me to Duluth, and that's where you'd get to the southern tip of Lake Superior. So yeah, it's you could do it in a day. You'd be like driving up there and say, "Hey, look, it's a Great Lake. I guess let's grab a bite to eat and drive home."
That's
which I've considered. There are some really good restaurants up there in Duluth. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there are some days I'd be like, might be worth the drive, but no, it's a tall state. And you get up in the southern part of the state's way different from the central, and the northeastern is different from the northwestern. So you'll at least be up here, but there's a lot more to see than what you're going to be able to see. But it'll be good to have you up here, and at least.
We're going to try to find some stuff between here and there to do, so that I don't have to go past it, because it is a long ride. And schedule. My wife still has to work, and the kid has things that she does. My schedule is pretty fluid. As long as I can get some jobs out and clear my calendar that for that little bit of time, I'm pretty fluid. But the wife and the kids, she still has school and band and all that. So we'll see. But that's the plan. We're at least going to come up there and then maybe find some stuff between here and there to work on. My printer just hollered at me. Let me go swap that build plate out.
Yeah, Kevin, if I could, I'd love to have them go up to the North Shore, hit up Lake Superior. That's one of my favorite spots. I mean, it's kind of, everybody has like if nothing else, this will be a good vacation area. And that's kind of like Duluth and North for me is, I don't care if I've been there 10, 20 times. I'd still enjoy going back. So, but yeah, it'll be, family trip for them. So it'll be kind of quick, but we'll hopefully do a live from my shop, and I'll get them out to Menards so we can experience that.
Hey, we gotta go get a pizza. We gotta get a
pizza. Might leave the pizza bit up to you.
Yeah. I got these new panels, the new build plates for my P2. These are the Super Tack plates. If you have a problem with your prints coming loose from your build plate, get these. You will not have a problem with your prints coming loose from the build plate anymore. I promise. They're actually a little tackier than I had wanted, but they seem to be working really well. So yeah, I had to buy me, because I've got two textured like this, two textured PEIs, and I've got two Super Tacks. So depending on what I'm printing, if it's something that I don't need the print to be, held down a little bit better, then I might run the textured. But I will say, if you have problems with like the lips, the edge of these bigger prints, cooling and coming loose from the build plate and curling on you, not with this guy. You want, you just gotta let it completely cool before you're getting this off of here, though. But I've been printing some Bigfoot. I got a little behind on my orders this week.
So the question is, what specialty food must Dave try as no chicken livers? Well, I'm sure you could probably find some up here. There are weird people up here too. It's a good question.
Weird people.
I don't know. That's a good question of a Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota is known for like hot dishes and such, or casseroles, depending on what you call them. I already threatened him with lutefisk, but I won't even eat that, so that's not very fair.
That's right. Whatever it is, you're gonna have to like lead the way.
Well, okay, so
feed somebody something that you won't eat yourself.
So one of the things, and unfortunately, to get the real thing, you'd have to go up to there's a bar in the Twin Cities area. It's called a Juicy Lucy, and so it's a cheeseburger that the cheese is packed in the middle of the patty, and they make it like molten melted cheese, a variety of toppings on it. They're very good, but it's kind of like eating a Philly cheesesteak. I mean, you bite into the thing and it's just, a lot of flavor, but a lot of mess.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do that.
Up like 3 points as soon as you eat it.
At least. So I don't know. I'll have to think about that. See what's a more realistic thing we can do up here for food, and maybe something a little bit different. But
yes, sir. David's asking what robot mower are you using? I actually have two. I have the Ecovacs Goat A3000 that I bought last year. I bought it right as the season got crunk up good last year. I've been using it. I have good luck with it, but I had some problems with some of the terrain here. It's real hilly, and so with the two wheels, the Goat would send me a distress call. Occasionally. It wasn't bad, but occasionally the Goat would send me a distress call and be like stuck somewhere. And so this past fall, my Motion reached out to me and was like, "Hey, we want to send you the Luba 3 AW all-wheel drive. It's got the LiDAR, it's got like all the navigation abilities that robot lawnmowers use. It's got them. It's got the visual, it's got LiDAR, and it's got the GPS. So it was an all-wheel drive. So I'm like, well, that probably would help me out with some of these trouble areas where the Goat gets stuck out a lot. And so now I've got it to where the Goat does like the flat areas that it doesn't have a problem with. And then the Luba does the areas that are a little rockier, a little rougher terrain. And the two of them just kind of work together on it. So when I deploy the lawnmower, I deploy both of them. And I've got the Goat that maintains right around the house and where it's flat and stuff like that. And then the Luba that does everything from the front yard down to the road and then the hill behind the house. So it's kind of a double-edged cutting technique right now. Both of the lawnmowers do a really good job. And if you had a smaller yard, it would really just kind of depend on the terrain and how well manicured your yard is, because the Goat, like I said, it'll surprise you where it can go, but there are limitations. I mean, it did better than I thought it would, but there were still areas to where it was like, I can't make it. So,
yeah, they reached out to me, but my patch of grass just isn't worth the time to mess with that. So, yeah, and I got so many other projects and things going on that it's too out of left field for me. But I know seeing your place, I can see how they're a huge help to.
It saves me probably 6 hours a week, because it used to take me a full day to do like all of my cutting the grass, weed eating, and all that would take me a full day. Anything outside of that, like clearing some weeds, because I've got certain areas that are improved areas but not maintained areas there's still a pine thicket, but I keep the underbrush chopped back so that the varmints don't come in too close. But if I had to do that was a whole nother day. So now, while the robots are out there cutting the grass, I do those things and just kind of hang out and keep an eye on them, and it works out that I'm getting twice as much done with my time because I'm not having to do the mowing. So, and I'm saving a lot of gas money right now, because instead of having this spend $20 filling up the zero turn. These guys just go and dock and charge, and you can like, you know, set it to where they mow at night if you wanted to try to get off peak, you know, charging or whatever set up. But I'm not that stingy right now, so I run them during the day.
Well, I haven't mowed my yard in I think 7 months, and I might make it to the beginning of June before I have to. So,
yeah.
Gaswald from the UK said, pretty new to lasers. However, would like to start engraving TCG binders. So desktop laser seems to be the way. Have come across the X-Tool S1 and the Monport Reno. I know they are different class lasers. So yeah, the Reno is a CO2. The S1 is a diode. And there are some things to consider there. The CO2 would be nice if you're wanting to also work like with acrylics. Your X-Tool S1 is going to be kind of limited to darker. It does really well with, you know, like black opaque acrylic. And as you get through the colors, your mileage varies and such. But if you're doing the trading card binders and such, it's going to depend on the material the binder actually is. So you're going to want to make sure you know what that is, because some binders made out of certain plastics, especially if they have chlorine in them, so like PVC based type things, they're going to be a big no matter what laser you're looking at. So do a little research into the binders. As long as you're not getting in too much into plastics or acrylics, you should have pretty good success with the S1. And a diode laser, generally speaking, with natural materials is going to give you a darker or more opaque engraving, where the CO2 is going to be a more, you know, it's a different wavelength, and it does more of a bleeding and instead of sintering. And so that can change the effect of the engraving on the materials, where the diode can actually be the better choice, even though the CO2 might be faster or whatnot. The other big thing between those two, I mean, if you're looking at the Reno 65, you might be getting closer to the size, but the Reno 45 is going to have a smaller working area than the S1. So, I've played with both the Monport Reno 45 Pro as well as the X-Tool S1 and have some videos on it. So definitely check those out. But if you have, you know, even more specific questions on it, you know, follow up on those videos or you know, come back here and we'll see if we can help you dial in what you're looking for.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm looking at a lot of those binders, and it looks like some of them are almost like the Lone Star type, you know, leather, you know, synthetic leather material, but there's others that are plastic. There's some that are felt. I mean, they've got them all kinds. So it is definitely going to depend on the material, because I think that would be probably the most important thing, is to make sure whichever laser you get gives you the most flexibility on your materials, or if you've got a particular style product that you're using now, just do some reverse engineering and go, okay, I'm doing these. These are the kind that I like. This is what they're made out of. Which laser is going to perform best on that material? You may even find, depending on the size of your graphic, that you could do with a smaller, like IR machine on some of the materials, especially if it's plastics or something, or even maybe a UV, which would kind of be the more expensive route. But UV would give you, if the work area is sufficient, it would give you some versatility when it comes to the materials.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. Well, look at that. Rich is in the house.
Hey, Rich. Good to see
you.
Rich.
That rain that's been coming through here is coming right across top of them. So I bet he's wet down there too.
Yeah, we got some rain and wind passing right now. Getting some weird noises from my shop door, but so
yeah.
If things go dark or I suddenly like fly that way, it means bad things happen.
Yeah.
Sim the Turner, he says, I now have a picture of David with a baby bib on and getting a big mess. Well, I can help you with that. I'll get that image right out of your head.
Oh Lord.
There we go.
Is this your AI thing that you've been messing with? Oh my gosh.
Who remembers this?
That's the fluffy shirt. It's in the closet.
Oh, hold on. There you got to get that out of the way.
There's a local lady that made me a fluffy shirt.
I think this needs to be part of the wardrobe for his vacation up here. And
Hey, I
so
got it. I'll
if we
wear
can
it.
get
I got that one. I got an American flag one. She made me a bunch of them. She does sublimation and stuff.
I think definitely this with, maybe some American flag shorts and flip flops would be really mint for your vacation. So
Cool. Yeah. I'll have to look at it and see. EMT Dave's asking how tall on grass or weeds can the all-wheel drive handle. The thing about robot lawnmowers is they're a maintenance machine. They're not you can't use it to go out and bush hog a field because one of the main reasons is they have obstacle avoidance. And the obstacle avoidance, if it detects something in front of the robot, it's going to avoid it. And so therefore, if you drop it into a patch of grass that's knee high, it thinks you dropped it into a box. And so you're going to cause problems. The way that the robot lawnmowers work is you have to get it cleared, get the debris down, get everything out of the way, and then you let them maintain it because they can go out and cut it every day. So that when they cut it every day, it does a couple of things. One is you don't ever have those big piles of clippings in your yard. Like your yard always looks like you're bagging it because the clippings are tiny because it's cutting so frequently. Secondly is it's less stressful on the grass because you're not going through there and just scalping it after it's, gotten really tall. So the benefit of it there. And then the third thing, of course, is anytime somebody comes to your house, it looks like you just cut your grass. But you could drive it through some really tall grass, like it'll pull, but you'd have to manually operate it because if you put it out there to mow, it's kind of set up to where it doesn't mow down your flowers. So therefore, you have to release it into an area that's kind of laid out the way you want it to be, and then it'll maintain it. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand is you have to get it looking good and then send it out. It's kind of like the robot vacuums. Those things are great as long as you don't leave clothes and stuff laying in the floor, because then they're just going to either get tangled up or they're just going to go around everything. So that's the thing with the robots is you've got to get your yard knocked down and then turn it over to them. Like I've got Bahia here, and the Bahia, if I'm not careful, if it shoots up big enough, the obstacle avoidance will detect it and think it's a rope or a string or a wire or something like that, and it'll go around it. So you'll have one little pod of grass, and everything else is cut, but it'll go around that little pod. So you have to be careful with that. But those are some of the caveats that you have to figure out when you get them. But even with those things, it's still worth it to me. Like I said, my at the rate I'm going, my zero turn will last me another 10 years because I don't use it often. Now I still have to use it occasionally. Like if that Bahia all jumps up at one time, and it's easier if we just get the zero turn, knock the Bahia down, and then get the robots back going. So there's still some maintenance, but it's just I would say it's grass cutting reduction, not necessarily elimination. You're still gonna have to help it out every now and then, especially like after this week-long rain cloud we've had, because they haven't been able to run, and neither have I. So the grass is just sitting out there getting taller and taller. I do plan on making a video though of how they perform after all this is over with, because that grass out there is exploding right now. Because that is something that I think people kind of miss sometimes is when you say that it's a lawn maintenance machine, they don't think about the fact that you have to get it ready and then put it out there and let it maintain
it. Maui WH says, of all the UV lasers, and I know it's limited, which one do you recommend as the very best one to purchase?
I hate it, but I've got one that I use in my shop right now. I've got 3 of them, but I've got one that I have used in the past 4 months, and that's the X-Tool one. It just works, and it is easy, and it's got all the things it needs. It's got an accurate camera. It's got the framing laser, plenty of power. I got the AP2 automatic air purifier that comes on automatically with it. I mean, it checks all the boxes. And I know it's expensive, and people say, oh, it's too expensive. But it's an experience that you don't have to tweak it. You don't have to work with it. You don't have it like open. You don't have to have these things. I mean, there are advantages to having the X tool. Don't get me wrong. I love the Omni 1. I like the Omni X. But if a job comes in today that requires a UV laser, I'm going to the X tool just because it's just so smooth. So,
well, my direct experience is limited to the Commarker Omni 1 and the Omni X. And so I don't feel like anything else is just me inferring from what I've seen from other people and looking at that. That being said, yeah, I mean, the X Tool 1, you're paying for a lot of the development of the software and the tools, and that does mean something in any device you're looking at, is having some solid software that's not buggy and it works and maybe assists you. I think if you're looking at more of a budget line one, I've heard good things about the SculptFun one as being kind of a less expensive but functional, decent one. So, but I don't have any direct experience with it. I can't say that for sure that yes, it's good, great, or otherwise. It doesn't have caveats of its own. But price-wise and functionality-wise and working area-wise, I feel like that one ticks a lot of the budget options out there.
Yeah, SculptFun makes some good equipment. So I mean, but it's budget equipment. You're not going to get all the bells and whistles. But yeah, I wouldn't mind trying out the SculptFun one. Be honest with you. There's several out there that I think might do a good job. And there's a couple of them that are out there that are pretty popular that I'm just a little hesitant with for other reasons. But yeah, so far the X tool has been my go-to lately. The Omni 1 works great with light burn. If you're a light burn only fanatic, then do not get the X tool because you're paying extra money for stuff that you can't use if you're not going to use X tool creative space. But if you want the most versatile, most ease of use machine, then the X tool is it because it does I've used it doing the curved surface engraving. I've used it doing the embroidery, the embossing, all the things that it has, and they work. Now, not a fan of the grocery conveyor, but other than that, it works. But they're not the only one that does the conveyor thing. I've got another one sitting in the shop right now, and I'm like, why did y'all send this to me? Because I hate these things. So there's one. Radu says 2-layer acrylic, specifically black with chrome or mirror on top. Is there a real concern about reflections when engraving, damaging lenses? I've never had a problem. I've done mirrored acrylics. I've done mirrors themselves. Typically with mirrors, I try to come in from the back just because you can. But I've done all kinds of, I wouldn't be looking in the laser when you're doing it, but typically any kind of reflectivity that you get, unless it goes directly back up into the laser, it's going to be so bad out of focus when it hits anything, it's not going to hurt nothing from my experience. Now, is there a slim 1 in a million chance that it's going to reflect directly back up into the laser and maybe cause a heat issue? Maybe. You've probably got a better chance of getting hit by lightning, though. I mean,
yeah, I haven't worked with any I've done mirrors, but like you say, you're doing the backside. I've done some it's more of like a brushed metal, so it's not as reflective anyway. But I haven't done any true mirrored acrylic with the mirror side up, so I haven't been overly concerned. But you're kind of, yeah, I mean, there's always a chance, and that's why you want to take laser safety seriously, especially for yourself and your eyes, but also where does that beam reflect? A CO2 laser, especially when you're aiming you're having to line the mirrors to aim the beam. If that thing's off, I've had it I literally had it one time where the mirror was so far off, I hit the pulse button. I was like, where'd it go? I hit the pulse button again and realized I just burned a hole in my pants. So yeah, you want to be very careful in working with those things when they're open and such. So there is a chance. Anytime you can avoid having the mirror side towards the lens, I would, but so if you're cutting mirrored acrylic, maybe cut it upside down, and but if you have to engrave that side, you're gonna have some issues to deal with. Man, it is raining out here right now.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, like I said, if you could avoid having the reflective surface pointing toward the source, I think that's a good idea. But you're not always going to have that because, like I said, if you're doing something that requires you to do engraving and cutting, and you want it to be on that side, then that might not be an option. But I've never had a problem because of it. And like I said, I've cut a lot because X-Tool, they sell a lot of like mirrored, like gold mirrored and silver mirrored acrylic and stuff like that. I've cut a lot of that and never had a problem. And I'm not saying I couldn't have one tomorrow, but I never have. And just knowing what I know of how it interacts with the material, by the time with that acrylic, typically that layer of reflective material is so thin that by the time the laser hits it, it's gone. Like it destroys it as soon as it hits it. If it was like polished chrome or something, I would be more concerned than with it being that thin layer of reflective material inside acrylic, because that laser is just going to knock it out fast as it hits it. So, and it's down in the hole. So it's really only way it's coming out of there is go straight back up. But anyway, like I said, I would definitely be careful, but Gazwall says, I'm also interested in tumblers and know the Reno does not play well with the controller, although the S1 seems to be older. Would you recommend it if you're buying something had to choose? If you want to do tumblers, the S1 does a really good job with tumblers. That was my go-to tumbler machine for quite a while. The only problem is over a CO2, the settings are going to be more finicky. You can do it. You can get the same results, but it's going to be a lot more settings are critical over a CO2. A CO2, the settings are a little more forgiving. But yeah, the Reno 45 that I have, you can use a roller, but you can't use a chuck. So,
yeah, just keep in mind with tumblers. I mean, the Reno, you can get the flat roller rotary, but you're going to be limited to really smaller items. I know a few people in the Momport channel have complained that they got the roller rotary for tumblers, but it doesn't go deep enough. Sometimes you can take the base out and elevate a laser a little bit to get some more height. With the S1, you're definitely going to then need to buy the riser base to be able to do tumblers as well, because you got to get that elevated up too. So it's a little extra expense there.
Yeah. Kevin says, Clack, do you use a conveyor on your S1? No, I told him do not send me that because I'm not going to use it. And so I don't even have the conveyor for the S1. I don't like any of those conveyors. The only access extensions that I will use and have used successfully and I'm okay with are the bed slingers. Those I'm okay with. The grocery cart, the grocery conveyor things, I've just never had any luck with them. The ones for the S1 and the P2, I didn't like those because there's too many points of failure when you're trying to engrave or cut or whatever. Even the P3, the way they've got it set up, I've heard that they've made improvements, but you have to use tabs. And if your tabs break or turn loose, you can have a jam. And it's, to me, personally, if I would just get a bigger machine, or either one of the sling beds. Some of the sling beds, like Adam Stack makes a sling bed. Was it Laser Pecker makes one? Com Marker uses one for their machines. Where the bed is actually a bed with a cutting edge on it and it slides. Those I've had pretty good luck with, because the only complaint I guess I could have with those is that you open the laser up to kind of free air. So there's that risk of reflectivity from the laser and stuff like that. So you definitely got to wear your glasses when using one of those sling beds. But as far as functionality, being able to cut and being able to do stuff with them, those work. Still not my favorite, but if you need to extend the bed, those do work. Like the one I had for the Hurricane and for the, what was the other machine that we had it for? The Craft. Those actually did work. Like I said, it opened up the enclosure. It did create a bit of an issue with the exhausting because it let too much air move around inside the enclosure. But other than that, for cutting, it did the job. So what was you going to say? Was you looking for a conveyor?
No, I was checking to make sure it wasn't hailing outside, because getting some aggressive pings off my shop door. Yeah, I didn't. I've had the conveyor on the P3. I had it for the P2, never used it. I'm not for all other reasons. I'm not a fan because it's possible to have them slide. And yeah, there's the conveyor that grocery style conveyor for the F1 Ultra.
That's one just like it.
I just didn't see the value in it.
You
The AI
can't cut on it because it's got a rubber mat.
Right. Yeah, you can't cut through on it, and so you're engraving, and just the alignment on them is a little sketchy. So I would honestly rather set up print and cut where you slide it through and use your registration marks than using a conveyor. As Clark said, the sling beds, I've used them on some of the smaller machines. I haven't used them on any of the bigger ones. Now the IKEA Master is supposed to work with that same one, I think, that was on the Hurricane and the Craft. But that needs the riser to work, and I don't think those are available yet, so I don't have it. So I haven't been able to do anything there with that one yet. But
yeah, now the F2, it came with the new sling bed. It works because you actually screw it to the bed of the F2. I do have that.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. So
yeah, but yeah, the rubber conveyors aren't my fan because the problem is first of all, it's like a treadmill tread. So there's really no way of lining your material up other than just framing. And so it's a bit awkward to line stuff up and get it ready. And you could, I guess, create a jig and like tape it to the conveyor and just make sure it don't go too far to where it comes off the end. But I just, those have never really been practical to me. I didn't know I had this one coming for the G-Week machine, or I would have told them not to send it. It just showed up, and I'm like, crap. I should have checked, see what all they were sending me. It'll work for some situations, and I'm going to demo it, the few things that I think it might be good for, but, I'm not a fan. I prefer the sling beds or just doing it the old school way. Like Steve said, just, index and move.
Yep. Or if you're doing it that often, try to get a bigger machine, right? Some people do these really long but narrow, things, and that you're just not gonna. Unless you get industrial level, you're not getting that in your workshop. So for the occasional thing, it might be okay, but yeah, I wouldn't want to use it day in and day out.
Well, Rob said, Dave and Steve, could you give a shout out to my wife, Carmen? Tuesday's our 20th anniversary. She supports my laser addiction. Hadn't killed me yet. Says she is his world. Well, that's good. If you've got a wife that's tolerant of your hobbies, that is good.
Yeah, and congrats on 20 years too.
Yeah, that's not a goal that many achieve these days. It's getting more rare every year, it seems. But congrats on that. I'm not sure. Thank you. Looking to make templates for my 78-year-old father for woodworking. Oh, he's talking about some of the other stuff. Yeah. Now, if you're doing templates, especially if you're going to be doing them out of like acrylics, clear acrylic or something, like I said, always consider the material that you plan on working with when you're looking at machines, because I see a lot of people's like, hey, I bought this to cut acrylic with, and now I find out I can't cut acrylic because somebody somewhere told them that a blue laser would cut clear acrylic. So always double check that. I had somebody message me. I had another one message me the other day. Hey, how many times do I have to spray this clear acrylic with black paint to get it to cut? And I'm like, that's not how that's done. That's
every single pass.
Yeah, you're going to spend way more money, and like, not to mention the inside of your machine is going to be black. Because you can't move it. You know what I mean? Like, you're chasing the laser with black spray paint, and you can't let it dry. So it's like, yeah, I don't know who told people that was a good idea to try to cut it that way. Engrave? Okay. Cut? No.
Yep. Yeah, I see. Greg's been asking some questions about some issues he's having with his 3D printer, like the base layer and such. And there's a lot of comments helping him out. So I don't know that we've got much to add to that. But a fun part about this community is everybody else helping out. And we do have our laser engraver community, which is kind of lasers plus. So that's another good place to connect with us and others here to get some help. And I greatly appreciate that. You know, Sam Craft, he put out a new video today or yesterday, talking about kind of what his shop changing and in direction of his channel and such. And he kind of made a comment of how, you know, woodworking, laser engraving, CNC routing, all these communities are pretty strong and supportive. But he said that the 3D printing community, not that everybody's bad in there, but it's a little different. And so it's good to see people helping out with that as well. So just saying, appreciate you all for giving. And that's what we ask in our groups is, you know, try to give more than you take, but because we don't always have all the answers.
Nope. But another thing I like about these plates, look at that. That's the build plate side finish.
It's looking pretty good.
Yeah, it's smooth. Nothing against the texture, but I do, for certain parts, I do like the smooth finish.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see where there would be times that maybe you want the texture, especially if you're going to be UV printing on it or something. I think the texture actually helps with the UV printing. But with this application, I like the smooth surface. So these are the two brackets for the Bigfoot kit. That's the top side because there's where my text is, because X Tool changed the size of the RA3 by 2 millimeters. So
so I did a thing today with the 3D printers.
What'd you do?
Well, so the X Tool P3, you know, has the bed that lifts up and lowers, and that's how it sets its focus. But it's got a limitation of about, I think it's 8.6 inches. And I was trying to engrave something that was about 9. And I was like, okay, I could take the slats out, but then it's resting on the bottom and it won't focus because it has to, you know, raise and lower it. But what I came up with was a little clip. And so this is the clip. So it rides on the slat, and then the piece can sit down in here, and then you can clamp one way or the other the part to this. And so here's a photo of it in action.
Yeah, I saw your pictures today. I was like, well, that definitely works.
And yeah, it worked out pretty well. As a matter of fact, I think you could use 4 of these if you had something like an ammo can or something. You could just put it in the 4 corners and do the same thing. So
is that was in lieu of like trying to block it up from the bottom or whatever?
Well, that's the thing, is that the laser has to, the gantry and the head, there's only so much movement that I don't even know that this one has any Z-axis movement on the gantry. It's all based on the bed. And so
so you can't really do a whole lot of it.
You'd have to like guess and check each time to see if you can stack it up just right from the base. Yeah. Whereas this just dropped the whole thing down a couple inches, so it had enough room just to come up just a little bit to put it in focus.
Well, and another thing too is with that, couldn't you, like if you had like you said, an ammo can or whatever, you could technically just cut you a piece of 1/4 inch plywood and make a floor for those clamps.
Yeah.
And do it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see what you're saying. Now the bed moves up and down, so you really can't depend on it either.
Right. Huh. So yeah, so that actually worked out pretty well. And so that'll be in a video. I've got most of it edited, so probably Tuesday I'll get that out there. So
cool.
Very handy to have the 3D printers. And this was literally, you could design this with a bunch of boxes. Now I did put, this has just a slight angle in to give a little friction.
I'm saying, if you don't have a 3D printer, a little bit of wood strips or something and some glue and some clamp.
You could glue something like that together too. So
yeah,
you could laser cut one out, but yeah. I mean, it took me, 5 minutes to draw it up and 20 minutes to print out. Well, it was about half an hour to print 2 of them out on the A1. So,
yeah. Honda Freak 45 says, as a super small business, how do you keep busy with any real orders? Without any real orders, I'm tired of testing. Well, if you don't have enough orders to keep you busy, I would suggest coming up with ways of going out and getting some customers and drumming up some business. Maybe doing some market research, going to events, spreading the word with your local businesses, trying to get, because the bread and butter is going to be B2B stuff. And even if it's like, let's say there's somebody in town that does custom embroidery. All right. That's really nothing that you're going to do necessarily, but people who do custom embroidery, if they have like a storefront, people are going to come in to see, hey, I know y'all are an embroidery shop, but can you do this? And so there may be jobs coming to that embroidery shop that they're not equipped to handle, that they're just turning away these people. Whereas if they knew who you were and what capabilities you had, they could say, no, I can't do it, but here's this guy's business card. Go check him out. He might be able to help you. And so those are connections in the community that you need to make, because those folks are going to be the ones that they're going to find, especially if you haven't gotten your internet visibility and your local marketing stuff isn't in place. Then you're going to need that, because that's going to be the best way to direct traffic to you as you grow and you get some money that you can spend on marketing, or you can, build. Facebook is I don't like Facebook as far as content creator goes, but as far as selling stuff, I like it, because Facebook they'll make you jump through hoops before they'll give you a penny for content creation. But as far as local marketing and handmade stuff, Facebook works. Like, that's how I got started, was just taking pictures of what I did and put it on Facebook. And the thing about Facebook is when you post on there, Google's search engines are constantly crawling the internet, updating their searches. And so if you put keywords in there like, hey, if you're interested in laser engraving and you're near this area, this is some of the things I've done, give me a call, then that becomes searchable. And so when somebody gets on the internet searching, that post may be what comes up. Google listings, Apple listings. There's a lot of different things that you can do as you grow. But starting out, I would just throw everything you can on Facebook. Get in the local groups. Like I said, there's the business to business connections will be more beneficial long term than a bunch of individuals, because that's where I get a lot of my referrals, as well as a lot of my work is from other businesses. Like I said, I'm friends with the people that the only other laser business in my county that, well, there's some people that do it out of their house, but nobody ever finds them. Kind of like me. I mean, every now and then somebody will pull up in my driveway and be like, hey, I found you on the internet. And I'm like, well, I really don't have a storefront, but but the only storefront in my community that does anything similar to what I do refers me any job that he can't do or is not equipped to do. If it's fiber, or if it's UV, or if it's, right now it's tumblers, because his employees, he keeps having high turnover doing tumblers, and nobody he has is trained to do tumblers. Then I'm in the process of training his new helper. And so he sends me the tumblers. He's like, hey, I got an order for 15 tumblers. Here's the blanks. This is the graphic. Here's an extra one to test on. And there's a set fee that I charge him to engrave those tumblers. And then he charges whatever he charges to the customer. And that kind of helps me fill some of my downtime as well when I have it, because I'm basically subbing stuff out for him. He's doing all the payment and everything. I'm not having to deal with the public. I'm not having to deal with, guidelines and graphics or anything like that. His graphic designers are sending me the graphics. So the business to business stuff is where I would concentrate. If you got that much kind of free time on your hands, go meet some business owners. Boutiques, they like their name on everything at a boutique. So if it ain't nothing but just letting them know what you do. Party planners, like my party planner this year she's been the top contributor to my PayPal account. Is my party planner. Like twice a week, she's sending me money for jobs that I'm doing. So there's a lot of different businesses out there that could use your services. But it takes time. It took me a good year to get to where I wasn't just sitting around trying to come up with jobs. So you got to stay after it.
Norbert's asking for a CO2 with an adjustable bed and removable honeycomb. How can you get the honeycomb to reinstall in the exact same place for repeat cutting, engraving, or with jigs? So I did this on the Reno 45 because that just literally has a platform it sits on, and then you can replace that with slats. So I made basically some 3D printed brackets that would drop the honeycomb right where I wanted it, and basically stuck them on with like double-sided tape, and that means it gets placed back in position, in the same position every time. So depending on which laser you have and how it's set up, that might be an option. Some of them might have more of a tray it drops into. Then you can, maybe get some shims or a cutout that drops in the same spot. But yeah, you're going to need something that attaches to the, the frame that the gantry is attached to. So it's kind of a solid reference point that it can replace it.
Yeah, and if you're not worried about warranties or anything like that, and it's a machine and you have the capabilities, you can take the frame that the honeycomb sits on and use like a screw, like a little small bolt like this, and just put a nut on it and have that pin sticking up basically as an index pin, and you only need 2 points to where you've basically drilled through the honeycomb and then through the plate below it, and you put those index pins in there. The only thing that you have to make sure of is you don't want anything that's causing your honeycomb to be setting up. So you got to make sure that wherever that goes. But yeah, you can do plastic index pins. Look for holes that may already be in the frame or in the honeycomb. Or like Steve said, just fix it in there. When you need to clean it, redo it, retape it after you put it back. But this is what I did with the Reno, was I put pins in my Reno so that it was indexable every time.
McPhil 3D says, it just picked up a used Ohmtech Polar Light. Steve, you watched my 2 videos about it and wondered if you hooked up an external air assist and a chuck rotary. I haven't messed with the air assist on it yet. It's a little more buried than some of the other ones. And I'm not sure I can get a relay in there easily for the auto air. I'm pretty sure it's capable, but I have it. A lot of the items in there are really packed tight. The chuck rotary, I have tried working with it, and I can get it to address the rotary and make it turn, but it wasn't accepting the light burn adjustments to, basically steps per rotation to get it calibrated. I'm not 100% sure why. I haven't had a chance to dive back into it. That was a few months ago. So yes, it'll operate that one, but getting it dialed in, I don't have the cheat code for you yet on that. So,
oh yeah, my buddy Bill's got the My Polar Plus now. He was having some issues when he first got it, and was like, "Hey, the rotary, the chuck won't work," which I know it will because that's what I was using to do my tumblers on. One thing that I did come up with when I was talking to him about it is obviously you have to have it connected to the computer in Lightburn before you can affect those changes. But also with those DSP controllers, there's 2 different ways of communication. You've got it to where it sends the file over and then does the job, and you've got it to where it streams it. And I can't remember which way I had it set up when I was using it, whether I had it streaming or sending the job or what. And I'm kind of curious if that setting in Lightburn could prevent the changes from being made to the controller, because it's not an active connection between the machine and the computer. So that was something that he wound up getting his fixed by using one of my profiles. But I was trying to figure out how come it didn't work with him. And that was the one thing that I could come up with that could have possibly been causing the problem.
All right.
Might want to look into that and see, just because I haven't gotten the machine, and he got it working, and he's moved on, so I didn't never get a chance to go back and double check, see if that would cause the issue. But what he was describing to me was like the light burn wasn't seeing the machine, and that's the only thing I can come up with is that the way it was running on the DSP mode or whatever. It wasn't taking the changes.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll if I get a chance, I need to fire that up again. But there's just so many things. But I do have it is set up right over here next to the computer, so it wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Greg saying I want smooth like that. I wonder if he's talking about. He said it at 742. I wonder if he's talking about the finish on my parts. Oh, Sharon's asking, is there anything special you have to know or you to do to use the smooth plates? With Bambu, if you're running the most recent version of Bambu, all you got to do is when you set it up, you have your filament type printer and your build plate. You just have to make sure you have the smooth super tack plate selected. Or if you're using a smooth PEI, which is what I'm running on the A1 right now, you have to make sure you have that selected. The P2 will fact check you, and if you don't change the plate in your slicer, it'll alert you that you have the wrong build plate installed. So you do need to check that. The ones that Joe's asking, what build plate was that again? It's the Super Tack cool plate by Bambu. I got it straight from them. I know there are other companies that make compatible plates, but I like the way the printer runs, and I don't want to do anything that could jeopardize it running as well as it does. So I try to use their stuff when I can. Even the filament, I'll pay a little bit more for the filament if I need to make sure when I hit print, it prints the way it's supposed to. Let's see, where's it at? Build plates. Here we go. All right. All right, so here you go. This is it right here. Bambu Cool Plate Super Tack. That's the one that I got. They have other ones, but yeah, that's the one that I picked up. It wasn't terribly expensive, but it wasn't cheap either. Trying to find actually where they sell the thing at, but it keeps taking me back to there. There it is. $20, $20.99. That's it right there. So, but you have to specify which machine you have, because there's two different versions. This is the X1 and P1 series and A1 series. And then there's the P2 and there's two different versions. I didn't know that there was. I thought it was the same build plate. It's the same size, but there is two different versions of it that you got to go through. So you have to pay attention to that. But yeah, but I'm liking it so far. I did some researching on it. Everybody's videos and everybody's reviews that I saw said that it would, definitely help with like the edges coming loose and curling on you and all that. Some of the complaints were that for small, brittle, fragile parts, it can be too much. So depending on what you're printing. But I have, like I said, I got 2 textured PEIs and 2 of the cool tacks or super tacks or whatever they're called. Because I like to, when the printer gets through, especially when I'm trying to make stuff for the Etsy shop, I just take the build plate out, pop another one in there, and start the machine back. And that keeps it, too, from having to cool all the way down and then heat back up. So it's actually saving me a little bit of electricity there. Oh, there's one for you.
So Jared went ahead and ordered the Master. Really didn't see anything in the market that had the potential in this price range. I usually don't pre-order, but it was on sale. I was like, what the hell? Well, sometimes you got to take the jump on, minimal information. I mean, there's a lot of people who got in with the Snapmaker U1 at really good price, and they've got some really, really awesome 3D printers right now. Whereas the price now is, I think, a couple $100 more if you want to buy it now that it's released. So I have it on the bench. As a matter of fact, I've got it right there next to me. So I'm going to be, I've been trying to get it dialed in with Lightburn. Their software they sent me is in beta and it works with that, but it has a couple of glitches in the Atom Stack Studio software likes to reset the power and speed settings randomly, which is really annoying when you set it up and all of a sudden it's barely moving and it's like blasting a high power and it's almost starting to fire. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to work in Lightburn because it works better. But I got to get like the camera set up and calibrated and such. But yeah, I mean, I've done some basic cuts. I think I showed a couple last week on just some Baltic birch. So I do have it functioning now. And so we'll see. But some of the things that I won't be able to show you right away, it does support a chuck rotary, but it requires the riser. And it may, I don't know. It sounds like they might want you to use the R8 rotary that they have. That would be unfortunate if you have to buy that specific one. But if it does support a chuck style rotary in a benchtop CO2, it might be that budget tumbler machine that people are looking for without too much headache and hassle. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get some testing out. Like I said, this week I have limited time because I'm going to be on the road. So
yeah. Look, we got a celebrity in the house, Mr. Ryan Ballard from Ryan Ballard Designs, stopping in. Says he uses a glacier plate from Big Q, Big Tree Tech. Yeah, there's a few of them out there. Medic 458 says I'm really struggling with engraving glasses on my X-Tool F2 UV using the chuck rotary. I can't get good consistent engraving. It will start good, then fade to nothing. Any suggestions? Yes, that is one of the, I guess it was, I would say, overlooked shortcomings of a UV. The thing is that when it does glass perfect. Like it makes it look really good. The thing that a lot of people don't emphasize with it, especially in marketing, is that it is very focus dependent, and the difference between the focus on, say, a CO2 and a UV is like daylight and dark. You can get away with a lot more variation in focus length with a blue, a CO2, even a fiber. You can get away with a lot more variation than you can a UV. A UV has to be in focus. If it's out of focus by like a millimeter, that's the difference between good looking glass and glass that looks like you didn't do nothing to it. So that's, and I've got a couple of videos. If you go into my videos and type the word glass or X-Tool UV, you'll pull those videos up and you can see them. X-Tool does have a feature called for the Ultra UV. It does have the curved surface engraving, which will help you overcome that, but it's a lot slower because you got to map each glass as you do it. And I've got a video where I did a job for a wedding. I did a bunch of whiskey glasses, and I could do 2 or 3 whiskey glasses and it would be fine. And then the fourth one would be just a little bit shaped different because it's glass, and a lot of it is, hand shaped or shaped in a machine that may not be exactly perfect. And the fourth one, it would mess it up. So after I ruined a couple of blanks, I started mapping each glass and it worked perfect. But it takes 3-4 times as long because you're having to map each glass as you do them. So it can do it as long as you're not trying to do a full wrap, but you don't have to have the rotary for that, but you could use it to hold it in place if you wanted to. And if you're doing 2 sides, you could do like one side, rotate it by hand, and then do the other side. But you can do it just using a jig just as easily. So what says you, Steve? I know you don't have that machine, but I know you've seen a lot of the complaints as well.
Yeah, I don't have that machine. I was playing around with trying to work with the Comarch Art Omni 1 with a rotary and some glass, and that was a problem, is that it not only was it trying to rotate that way, but if the glass had any curve the other way, you had to either have a really small image or, might run over it a couple times and just tweak the focus a little bit. It's very focus sensitive. And so any multi curve, if there's one curve, it's usually fairly easy to deal with. But when it's like a compound curve, it gets frustrating quick. So
yeah, you can do the engrave and drop, especially with Xtool or some of the other softwares, to where you can tell it, hey, drop the Z 0.5, drop 0.5. But you got to be careful and don't engrave some of it too much, because now you're starting to cause a little cracking into the glass. So it's a glasses can be done well with a UV, but it can be challenging if it's not shaped correctly. Auditing Arkansas says, Clack, which 3D printer do you have? I am not like Steve. I have very few 3D printers. I started with an Ender 3. Then I went to the Bambu Labs A1. And most recently, I purchased my P2S a few months ago. And I know a lot of people are asking me about the new, is it X2D, I think is what they're calling it. I'm not against the X2D, but it literally was released a week after I ordered mine. And I'm not really hurt about that, because for what I was wanting, this machine does everything I wanted it to do. And I'm not a beta tester. So I'm okay with that for now. My next machine that I buy might be the X2D if the reviews look good. And I don't see a lot of complaints about it, because I do like having the nozzle for the support material, to where you can run different support material. Because right now I do everything in either single color or transitional color. Like I have bottom color, top color, because I don't like doing the multicolor. It's just too slow and too wasteful, unless you have a multi-head. So Steve has like lots of 3D printers. Like he's got like, I don't know, how many are you up to now? Like 6?
I have 4.
4? Well, yeah. How many have you had?
I don't know.
Okay. See, yeah, Steve's had lots of them.
How many MOPA lasers have you had?
Well, we don't need to talk about that. We need to go back to the whole 3D printers.
Uh-huh.
I've had a few MOPAs. Okay. All right. It's just a fancy fiber. That's all. It's got one more setting. That's it.
All right, I got to get caught up on getting a little far behind. So if we missed your comment from 20 minutes ago, or a question anyway, you can drop it in again.
Yeah. Gaswald, my answer would vary heavily from your answer, because I have one product that I sell that makes me a bunch of money that could sustain my business pretty well with just one machine. And it's a machine that none of y'all would pick. And I'm trying to find a better alternative for it, but the company who makes it has stalled out on me and quit making open frame machines. And so I'm almost at the point that I'm fixing to buy some extrusions, and I'm fixing to take some other machines, and I'm going to do some wiring of my own, and I'm going to build my own laser. But currently, the MVP in my shop, as far as revenue goes, is my Atom Stack X40 Max over here, because I use it to do stove covers, and I use it to do my big names that I do that are 32 inches wide that I sell to my party planner. Between those two products, that's a big portion of my income every month in the shop. So that's my moneymaker right now. So in order for me to use a machine, I could do what I do with this machine with a CO2, but the problem is on a pine board doing those stove covers, the engraving with a CO2 is not going to be as dark as it is with a diode. And I like not having to fiddle with the engrave and it being dark enough. So I want to stick with a blue laser for doing the stove covers, but I would like to get a bigger work area for my name signs. So I'm looking at that right now. There's a couple of companies that still make open frame gantry machines that are, 500 by 800 or 500 by 850, but I do not have room for 800 by 800 or 900 by 900. I need wide and not too deep. And if I can't find it, I'm going to just customize my own, I guess, or just get a CO2 for the name cutouts and keep rocking with what I got. I don't know. But it just depends on what products you're selling. If you're somebody that sells a lot of like, PMags engraved or something like that, that wouldn't be your pick. So it's going to depend. You have to reverse engineer your decision based on the products that you plan to sell. Because if you pick the wrong machine, you're not going to be able to use those products with it. Because it would be a terrible machine if what you're planning on doing is engraving like PMags or something like that, some kind of plastics. A blue laser would be a terrible decision for you. You'd be better off with an IR. Santa says, anyone tried to paint or other tricks you do on a diode glass for UV? It's a whole nother animal. A UV does not require intermediary layer like the other machines do. A UV will engrave any material you put in front of it as long as it's focused. It's a focus issue, not a wavelength absorption problem. That's the reason that paint works with the other lasers, is because the issue with them is not focus. It's the fact that the wavelength passes through them and doesn't interact with them.
So Mark's asking, dialing in finger joints with the CNC using the Vectric dog bone fileter and finding that climb cut is critical for small gaps. Not sure why that is critical compared to conventional cut. Any ideas? So the climb cut is good for getting a more polished, cleaner edge and surface. The conventional cut, it has to do with how the bit is more digging in to the materials it moves through, versus where the climb cut's almost like it's rolling along with the material. It's actually the opposite cut that you want to do handheld, because it can get away from you, the material or the router. But when the material's clamped down in a CNC and the gantry is holding the router, it will give a cleaner cut, as it's not having to dig in as much and more of almost driving along the material. So just there are some diagrams out there that will probably explain it better, but you just kind of look at the rotation of the bit compared to the direction and how it's chewing into the material versus pushing it in or pushing it out. So hopefully I gave at least enough to get you on the right path to a more lengthy explanation.
Let's see. Gas wall says, whoa, wait a minute. That's wrong. That you must have clicked one.
I clicked on this one.
Go ahead.
He says, the CO2 seems like my way forward. However, it's sensible for first laser. Plus CO2 tend to be massive for a spare room, make a room. Depending on what you're wanting to do, a CO2 is going to take up more space for its working area. They just need more room for the tube and the mirrors and the gantry and such. Whereas on a diode, a lot of that is contained in the module that rides on the gantry. So they're bigger, but that doesn't mean you have to get a massive one. You can get one like the IKEA Master here, which has about a 12 by 20 working area, and a lot of the desktop ones will. And this is honestly, it's probably almost smaller than the alien cell, just because the alien cell has a bigger working area. But height wise, it's a little bit taller, but it's actually smaller footprint than one of the diodes that it's right next to. So your working area is really going to drive that. And so if you can work within basically like a what would they consider, like A1 or a legal pad, 20 by 12, then a lot of these benchtop options are going to be decent and not terrible as far as like a spare room, make a room, and not having to like wheel in a big cabinet one into a shop. But that being said, it was my first laser was a CO2. Diodes weren't really a thing. I mean, back then they were laser pointers were the diode ones. It wasn't a few years later that they actually started coming out with ones that can engrave and cut. so I had no choice but to cut my teeth on that. It is, I feel, easier to start with a diode laser. There are fewer things that maybe need to be dialed in for it to work right. So like getting quick wins is important in anything you're starting out, to not get frustrated with it. But depending on what you're wanting to do down the road, and you mentioned tumblers being one earlier, a CO2 is going to have less variation in its power for the various coatings and types of things you're going to want to work with. But on some of the more natural materials, you might not quite get the depth or the darkness of the engraving, but it might dig in deeper. So there's some trade-offs there. So definitely something to consider. I mean, that being said, if you want to do some really dark engravings, you can get some small, inexpensive, like 4-inch, 5-inch working area diodes to do real deep engravings on smaller items, and then have your CO2 for your workhorse kind of work. So there's a lot of inexpensive machines out there to kind of bolster what you have, but I wouldn't make one of those small ones kind of like my only laser, unless you're only working with like ornament size things.
Yeah. Like I said, your selection has to be, you have to consider what you're going to be making with it for sure. Maui? Yeah, something like that. Because I was looking for that Super Tech plate on Bambu's website, and I didn't see the one for $20.99 was compatible with the P2S. Which printer do you have? I have the P2S. They make them, like I said, they have one for all their machines. So you just have to make sure when you pick it, like when you go to accessories, one of the easiest ways is when you go to accessories on their page, you'll have to pick which machine you have right here on a printer model. And so if you click P2S, then you get right here, and this is the one for the P2S. So you have other machines as well, and it's going to depend on which machine you pick as to, the price per se. But yeah, that's the easiest way to do it, is to go over here and just select the machine that you have. We're saying $29.99 now. I don't know if I was logged in differently or what. But yeah, that's it right there. Bambu Cool Super Plate Tac Pro. But yeah, it did have it cheaper earlier, but it may have been a sale when I clicked it earlier. I don't know. No idea. So yeah. That's the machine that I have, the P2S. And I like it. I like it a lot. Best one I've had so far.
Cody's making it a little earlier this night.
Woo! Look at Cody coming in here early, man. What's up? I got some Genie bits on the way. I had a little incident with some real thin aluminum the other day, and I didn't think about. I used an upcut O flute instead of a downcut O flute, and it was thin checker plate aluminum. Even though when you measure it, it measures at because it's checker plate, so like you would think it'd be like 4 millimeters thick. Oh no, it flexes heavily in the middle. And if you get going through there with an O flute and it catches grip just a little bit, pow! Just so you know, a Shapeoko 5 Pro can snap an 1/8-inch O flute bit like it's nobody's business. I was trying, and the only reason I was using the 1/8-inch was because I was trying to keep a little more detail because it has some tight turns. But after I snapped my only remaining O flute bits, I had to go to a 1/4-inch O flute, and then I cut it out, and like I quit cutting it. I was like, no more. It's getting expensive, because I think it was $60 worth of bits I broke on that one piece. I was like, I'm done with it. And it wasn't even a paying job. That's what's bad. It was for a local thing that they're doing.
Gaz says, thinking S1 to start to see if I can make money, and if I stick with it, then upgrade to a CO2. A lot of people go that path. They start with a diode and then step up as they kind of figure out what they might need it for. Excuse me. But yeah, and it's a balance of, buy once, cry once, but also not overbuying a tool until you need it. And that may be the case with the CO2 is, you can do a lot with a diode. In some cases, you got to do some workarounds to get it to work right. But generally speaking, it's going to be a little less expensive and a little bit easier to get started. That being said, if you're looking at the S1, you may also want to look at the Alien Cell machine. Both Clack and I have had those as well. Very similar, but might have some features that it's a newer laser than the S1. So it would definitely be in that category. And I also just took a look at the Laser Pecker LX2. Now it's got a smaller working area, but it's a little taller working area as well. I was fairly impressed with it. The only issue I ran into and should be corrected now, as a matter of fact, I should probably test that with Lightburn 2.1. They have the support for more of the kind of the USB networked cameras instead of the USB direct connect. And so it should be able to more natively support cameras. And that was one of the small things I ran into that. So there are a few in that range. I would definitely take a look at what might work for you if that's what you're kind of getting dialed in on. I've had the S1 for a couple of years, really love it. It's still kind of like my basement workshop machine, and then I've got the Alien Cell out here in kind of the main workshop. So definitely a couple good ones to look at.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I've migrated over to the S1 or the X1, the Alien Cell.
Yeah,
I've started using it. Like my S1's up there in storage right now because I needed the space for the Eufy. And so,
well, I don't. It's great. I don't have the riser base for it yet or anything, and so the S1 still does deeper things for me that this one can't yet. And then down in the basement, I have it hooked up to the AP2, which is nice because then I don't have to vent out outside all the time. But yeah, it's out here. The Alien Cell X1 is kind of it hasn't moved from its spot since I did the review on there. It's actually made me have to use other tables to.
Yeah, I still every now and then I'll find like a little glitchy thing with their software, but they're steadily pushing out updates, so I feel confident. It's kind of like the early years of XCS, with X Tool, where they were, it was improving, but there was some little bugs. So like every now and then I'll find like a little glitchy thing, and I'll email them and be like, "Hey, y'all might want to look at this or whatever." And so far they've been really receptive. And I know somebody had asked me about the rotary for the Alien Cell, and so I emailed my contact, and they said that they would let me know when they get it. So I don't think it's actually out to be shown yet, but it is still on the horizon. Hopefully soon, because I know a lot of people are kind of wanting to know, is it going to have rotary capabilities or not? And so
Gaz followed up, said originally started looking at the Alien Cell, thought it was too big for the original room I had in mind, was thinking S1 for purely Xtools software, but that's been the thought process. And yeah, Xtools developed, they've had more years to develop their software, so it is a little more polished. And with some of the features they can add into their specific machines, they used to support Lightburn on their machines. On most of the newer ones, they've been kind of getting away from that because of all the kind of the proprietary features they're putting into their lasers. So if you go Xtool, and now the S1 still does work with Lightburn, but kind of moving forward, like with their F2 and their P3 and probably their M2 Ultra they just announced, things like that, they're not so much working with Lightburn. So you're going to get more locked into their software. It is pretty decent. It's pretty good. Especially if you're just starting out new and you don't know any better, it's great software for that. But some people that have used other lasers with Lightburn miss a lot of some of the workflow and the features in Lightburn from that. And that's true of, Atom Stack Studio and the Alien Cell software and things like that. They all kind of have things that, you get used to one thing in one software, and it's kind of like your metric to measure it by.
Yeah, there's some design tools that I feel like Xtools software still kind of playing catch up on. But as far as operating the machines, it runs good. And the one thing I do like about them is they work over Wi-Fi flawlessly. And somebody that's maybe you're in a room that doesn't necessarily have LAN cables run everywhere, that is something that benefits you, is being able to just connect to the Wi-Fi and go with it. So,
yeah. I was thinking that too, Cody. He says Jason Airways needs to send you a vac table, and that would have prevented your pulling up.
Yeah, I know. And I even thought to myself, I should have took and done the double-sided painter's tape and taped it to a piece of plywood or something. But I was like, starting to get into a lot of trouble, trying to do all that. I only took the job because the folks that asked me to do it, they had a plasma cutter, but it was out of commission, and so it was more or less one of those. I'm gonna try to help them out, and I was like, you know what, I don't mind playing with like rigid aluminum. I've done enough of that. I'm confident with it, but that thin plate like that, man, I said that upcut O flute caught, and when it did, it just a whoop, bow.
Yep.
And so I learned a lesson. And I will no longer play around with no checker plate, because it is a lot more flimsy than you would think it would be.
Rob's wondering what I'm drinking. Keep going between Orange Tang and Orange Crush. This is just orange flavored water.
It's clap soda.
I don't drink a lot of processed drinks, and so it's just water flavoring in there, and yeah. I probably shouldn't drink as much as that as I should either, but I do drink a lot of water. I'll have coffee and some tea, green tea usually, but this is just orange flavored water from the tap. And it didn't come out of the tap orange. It came orange when I added the flavoring. So
it's a good thing. So when I come to Minnesota, don't drink the water. Oh man. Ryan's saying, have you seen any good videos? Easy way to make hype chains. What is a hype chain? First of all, educate me. What is a hype chain?
You got
is that
me.
like a bicycle? What is a hype chain?
This is where our I don't know, middle-aged dad is showing.
I don't know what that is. But if I hear of one, I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. So they're I know someone who makes some of these. They're 3D printed, like a big chain, and then it usually has like a sports team logo. So like a lot of schools will do it and such. So,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I've only seen a few people printing them. I haven't looked into it myself. So
I'm about to find a new place to stack my anodized aluminum sheets other than right above the refrigerator.
You can't keep running into it.
I reached in there to get a Sprite and like cut myself. It's like, what the heck? Hang on, let me get a towel.
So Chris is commenting that I'm starting to use Lightburn more for design than exporting to the different software for various lasers. I do the same, and sometimes it's Lightburn is even the intermediary step because I'll design in another software. Oftentimes Lightburn is better at taking weird DXFs or SVGs and cleaning them up, and then I'll export them from there into other softwares as well. So yeah, it's not uncommon that even if you have a laser that doesn't work well with Lightburn, you can still do a lot of your design work and then just bring it in and set up your job the other way. So
yeah.
Jared Lyon wants to know, how big is the learning curve with your CNC?
Well, I mean, it's a typical CNC GRBL controlled machine. So if you're talking about that specific machine, it's really whether you get that one or you get any of the others. There is a learning curve. If you know lasers, it does kind of give you a bit of a window of experience in a sense. But then you learn that, like I said, you can't break a bit on a laser per se if you go too fast or if you go too slow. There's another dynamic that you have to learn. So now, not only are you having to learn about XYZ axis and the space therein, but you also have to learn the variables, because like I said, if you plunge a 1/8 bit into material going too fast, something's going to break. And so there's that extra dynamic. The design process is very similar. You just, instead of like engrave and score and cut, you have like profile and pocket. Basically, there are other tool paths, but those are the two main ones. So it's, if you want to a pocket, then obviously it's called a pocket. If you want to either make a line or cut, then it's a profile. So it's kind of the same stuff, different lingo. There's some decent machines out there that if you think you want to do it, that are capable machines that I feel like would give you a decent understanding of how CNCs work without completely frustrating you. There are some machines out there that will frustrate you and make you never want to do CNC work again. But me and Steve have a couple that we recommend: Genmitsu 4040 Max, Pro Max, and the Masuda. Was it the 3S that we've got? 3S. But those are some of the machines that we recommend. Now, there are others, but those are the ones that we've had experience with, and we can say we feel confident that you could get the machine and be proud of what you make with it.
Although
and not get too frustrated.
That being said, Onefinity has come out with their kind of competitor to those.
Yeah, they did that.
I haven't played with one yet, but it looks interesting because the price point is pretty close to those others, maybe a little bit more after you factor in, a trim router and such. But
I wouldn't mind playing with one, but
yeah. So yeah, there's some. It's good to get a capable machine that even if it's a smaller footprint, isn't going to be bogged down, because the thing in learning a CNC is you got to learn about material holding, you got to learn about tool pathing, you got to learn about feeds and speeds and depths. It's not like just fire the laser and like, oh, that didn't work, up the power or slow down speed.
Yeah, bad things didn't happen.
You can have bad things happen with a CNC router as well. So
it'll throw stuff at you.
Yeah, yeah. And it can still start fires too. So that was one of the first machines I got, was a CNC router. And actually back in that day, there was even a like a G-code plugin for SketchUp, which I learned that 3D modeling years ago. And old habits die hard. I still use it on some of my 3D design, but a friend of mine had kind of a home built, and that's how I got into it, was that. And so then learning lasers felt a lot easier because I didn't have to worry so much about as many variables just to run a job.
Yeah. But like I said, I enjoy all the machines. It is amazing to me what you can create with these machines. So Mike says, thoughts on the Genmitsu 4040 Max Pro for CNC for beginners. I think it's a good fit. That's what I started with, the original 4040 Pro.
Well, you had
the Reno. It was
just the 4040 Pro. Yeah.
Then they came out with the Reno afterwards. But I had the original 4040 Pro, and it was okay. The rigidity of it was not as good as the Pro Max is now. But it allowed me to make enough stuff that I kind of got the bug. But had I have bought that machine, I might have been a little, upset that I couldn't just have upgraded it, which now they actually do offer the Max parts that you can bolt onto the old 4040 Pro. So Genmitsu's generally, like I said, somebody else said it, are pretty good about allowing you the opportunity to upgrade. Like if you buy the 4040, you can upgrade it to like a 4060 or whatever to make it a bigger machine. Genmitsu and Fox Alien both do a really good job of giving you those options. So I think either one of those would be fine. Like I said, I did see the thing on the little Babyfinity that they come out with, and I think that's an interesting design. Probably a good machine for people to start with. But I can't speak to it because I don't have it. The only, other than the Genmitsu machines, the Fox Alien, and there's been a few others that we won't even mention because they didn't classify, in my opinion, as a feasible machine. The Shipoko is the only other machine that I've used. But I can tell you that, like, the Genmitsu 6050 that I had was a formidable CNC. Like, it did things. Like, it would snap 1/4-inch bits if you messed up. It was very stout. Some of these companies try to sell lasers as CNCs. That's like trying to use a car to pull a gooseneck trailer. It's not the same thing. It's not even in the same ballpark. And I've had some of those machines. that come with the 200-watt spindle. That's basically like one of those little fans that you buy. That's basically what they've got for spindle, and it's those are not what I would consider to be decent CNCs. But what else do you have any other ones that you've experienced? What was it? The Looney? It was no, that was a belt driven. Never mind. That was a 200-watt spindle.
No, I haven't. I've turned down a lot of those kind of other ones. Just I feel like it's the kind of thing where you want to step into a certain level, and having a CNC router that supports at least a trim router, like a 700-watt spindle, is really helpful in starting there. You can do a little bit with some of the smaller ones. Like you and I both looked at the Cubico, and they function. You're going to learn some things on it, but unless you're just doing really small stuff all the time, it's even as a learning, if it's too weak and you're fighting the bits not being able to do their work, then I don't know how much you're actually learning. So
yeah, and if it takes you 8 hours to make this, you're going to get frustrated.
Yeah,
because I mean, this is a project that, like, some of those little 200, 300-watt spindle machines can make this, but it's going to take 8 hours, because, like, to cut this 3/4 inch oak with an 1/8 inch or 3 millimeter end mill with a 300-watt spindle, it's going to create a lot of dust, not chips, a lot of dust, and it's going to take a long time. But I did this with one of those machines. I'm not sure which one, but I think this was probably one of the Genmitsus, because typically I stuck with Poplar with those really cheap machines. But yeah, this is, like I said, this is something you can do with a little bitty CNC. But like I said, it's going to take a lot longer if you don't have a, like you said, a spindle or trim router or something. It's going to take a lot longer.
Rich says I should check out the stir water flavoring.
Sure.
Well, he corrected it. So yeah, I'll have to check that out, because I like the ones with the more natural sweeteners and not a lot of sugar and such. So thanks for the suggestion. I'll have to check that out and see if I like it.
Yeah, Jack's got a point. He said the good thing about CNC is it'll do exactly what you tell it to. And that's also the bad thing about CNC. And that is true. Because I have people tell me all the time, hey, I set my CNC up and I hit go and it just plowed into this or whatever. And I'm like, well, you messed up somewhere, because it done exactly what it was programmed to do. And I've been there. I've got one of my aluminum tracks on my Shapoco. Like, the first 2 days I had it, I plunged a Jenny bit, slapped through a piece of aluminum, and I was like, uh-oh. That's no good. And as long as I have that machine, I'll always remember it, because it's right up here on the front left corner. It went over there, and I set my depth. I didn't set my Z-axis right, and that son going went through the material into the T-track. I was like, oh, that hurt.
Yep. Gaswald's asking, do either of you plan to do the controller for the Reno to Ruida? So upgrading the Top Wisdom one. I have the 45 Pro, and I don't feel like the working area on that one is worth the cost and the hassle of doing the upgrade, just because I feel like I'd have to have like a separate box, and it kind of has a limited working area. If I had the 65 and the larger working area, maybe, but it's also just a time thing for me right now. There are other lasers out there that, if you factor in the price of like the Reno 65 and the Ruida controller, you'd be better off buying that laser straight up. Depending on how the IKEA Master works out with with Atom Stack, if that natively works with a chuck rotary, has that 12 by 20 working area. I mean, again, and by the time you buy the laser, the controller, other than the working area on this one, like I say, the 65 would be a little bit larger. It's really unfortunate that you're stuck with a roller rotary on those. Having the chuck rotary would be nice.
It done a
It's
good
a very
job. Just
it's a
couldn't
very
resize
budget
the
machine. It's
graphic.
very fast, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if I had a controller laying around and just some spare time, which I don't have either of those, then yeah, I think I would do it. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's the way I am. If I had a machine that like gave up the ghost and it had a Ruida controller and I just had one sitting around that, needed a home, maybe. But it would be, like, especially if I was just going to set up like a dedicated tumbler machine, because it's plenty enough work area for tumblers. And if I had the room to just set a machine to the side and say, okay, this is my tumbler machine, and I had a controller, maybe. But, unfortunately, I don't have the room to do it, and I don't have an extra controller. So I've started using the P2, which I wish X-Tool had like a setting where you could change it and it would operate like a Ruida controller, but they don't. But I have figured out how to make it work for me and got it jigged up and everything. And until I get me another CO2 machine, that's what I'm going with. But I'm heavily looking into upgrading to a CO2 machine that'll be more geared towards, just small acrylics and tumblers, because that's really all I do with the CO2s. So I'm really leaning towards, if I find a good deal on a machine, I'm gonna probably get one. But it's probably gonna be just a small desktop to avoid me having to try to figure out how to darken engraves on my covers and stuff. So we'll see. Mark saying that Genmitsu's offered a 600 millimeter max upgrade now for the 4040 Pro, so you can enlarge the machine and make it stronger at the same time. I'm seriously considering buying it. Yeah, like I said, they've done a good job of offering those avenues for upgrades, and it makes a difference. The 4040 Pro compared to the 4040 Pro Max, the rigidity in the spindle mount was like, it was obvious. Like, because when I had the DeWalt router on my 4040 Pro, you could twist it relatively easy, and so I had to make sure my speeds and feeds didn't apply too much pressure on the bit. And of course, the longer the bit, the more the resistance and the more the flex you would get in the gantry. But when I went into 4040 Max, that wasn't an issue, and you could do it a lot faster. And speeds and feeds were more in line with what I'm doing now with my bigger machines. So I've always tried to err on the side of conservative speeds and feeds, just because, I got more time than I do money to buy bits. And so that's another consideration you have to look at.
Rob Wilson's asking, Steve, any new glue discoveries for the week? Nothing new, but I did put a video out on doing some, making some bathroom organization items. And so I used that opportunity to talk a little bit about some tips when working with both the Boss Dog PVA glue that I like to use. It's a wood glue, but also a lot of people have talked about, acrylic glues. And I used Weld-On 3 to put the, it was a hairdryer caddy, or holster, I guess you would call it. Used the Weld-On 3 there and gave some tips there as well. So definitely do me a favor and go hit up that video after this and watch it a little bit, hit a like button, and maybe you'll learn something too.
Yeah, there was lots of glue discussion in that video. Billy said he did the same thing the first 2 or 3 days. Yeah. It sucked, but luckily I haven't had that problem since. Like, that's one of those things where when you're getting used to a machine, you can expect some issues.
David Pingle's asking, did the new version of Lightburn improve anything on the Alien cell? I have not spun it up yet because I've been busy working on some things and didn't need it to change anything for me. So I probably won't work with it until after I get back this week, and maybe I'll load it up on the spare laptop and give it a shot. But so I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't updated either. It's prompted me to 2 or 3 times in the past few days, and I just keep putting it off. But it's because I do not like beta testing. And so I'll give it a couple of weeks for them to work all the bugs out, and then I may do it. But Yeah, you do not do not update your machine, especially if you only have one machine while you have jobs in the queue. Because if it were to mess up something, you're going to mess up a job. So I like to update right before I've got a little free time to do some testing and run a few jobs just to make sure nothing weird happens to the lasers. So
Seth's asking, does anyone make a dedicated native rotary machine? And One Laser has their Vertigo. It's a 38 watt RF that basically the tumblers, the drinkware sit in there vertically. You drop them in and then it engraves it. But they get about $6,400 for it.
$63.99. So yeah.
So you better be doing a lot of them.
It's basically a small CO2 set on the end. I mean, if you look at the inside of it, that's what it is. It does use I think is it a pie burn that it has, or is it a boss? One of the roto boss. One of the two. It's got one of the is it pie burn or roto boss one mounted in the bottom of it that you can just set the tumbler here and clamp the fingers down and go with it. So I mean it is definitely interesting. There it is. It is definitely an interesting design. And look at it, using Clack Shack Orange for the videos. It's definitely an interesting design, but you would really have to be cranking out some tumblers to justify $6,400 for a dedicated machine that doesn't even have a honeycomb in it. So that's just, I mean, that's not that that's a bad thing, but I think the audience of people who's going to purchase that machine is going to be kind of small because like you can't cut anything on that. You can only do rotary work. That's it. So that's very specialized. Now, like my buddy Tim that has a trophy shop, if he did enough tumblers to make the money back, I could see that be something that he might could add to his shop. But like I said, $6,500, if you've already got a machine capable of doing it, it's a big peel. But it is neat. I like it. But I don't sell enough tumblers to be buying that.
Yeah.
I'd rather get like a Thunderbolt or something that I could do flat work, engraving, and tumblers with. Because I'm not just a tumbler company.
Yep. Let's see. Santa's asking, did I try the Hobby Lobby glue for 3D printing yet? I bought their CA glue. It was right next to the 3D printing, so you could use it for that, but I was going to use it just as general CA glue, and it still has the plastic on it. I haven't. The part of the problem is I have other glue bottles I'm trying to use up as well, but I'll have to give that a test at some point. But yeah, CA glue does work well for PLA as long as you don't glop too much on there and it runs.
Donald's asking, can a UV laser do a black marking on chrome Harley parts? Don't know. Keep in mind, chrome is specifically designed for like stuff not to stick to it, and for it's a coating. It's not the metal. It's a coating. It's a very thin coating. I haven't tried any chrome per se. If any laser was going to do it, I would think a UV could, but a lot of your black marking comes from heat. So a lot of times a actual IR would do a better job. So I don't know. Never tried chrome. It's very reflective, so you're going to need to be careful with it in a Galvo style machine. That's one of the situations where in a Galvo it would it'd be kind of dangerous. Rich is saying he's done black marks on chrome coins. So with the UV. So I haven't. I don't mess with a lot of chrome.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I have some chrome plated things.
And there's several different. I know there's different types of chromium, whatever coating that they use. Like I've done like Zippo lighters, which are typically those are nickel coated, I think. I've done them with fibers and with a UV, and it works. But I've never tried chrome. I stay away from anything that's like if the blank's too expensive, it's not worth it to me. Because if you brought me a $85 Harley Davidson part that you wanted engraved, and I told you, I want to engrave it, I'm first of all, I'm probably going to hit you for $25, $30 just to fire the machine up. And there's no guarantees that I'm not going to destroy your $30 part. And the last thing I want is somebody going back and telling everybody that I destroyed their cover off of their Harley or whatever with my laser, because that's not going to be good for business. So I would rather just turn the job down, because there's a risk reward thing with me. And if the risk of me screwing it up is more than the reward from doing the job, I'll just pass on it. And I've had some of my local friends, and I've told them, hey, that's risky. You're taking a chance. And then they show up over here with something that they've had a oops on, and they're like, oh my God, man, I'm sorry. I should have listened to you, because they trying to make $15 and cost them $100. So that's not something I get into a lot.
Yeah.
Like if you want to go buy PMags, or you want to go buy grips, or you want to go buy certain, parts like that, and they belong to you, and then you engrave them and resell them, okay. But like I've had people, I had a guy the other day call me. He's like, hey, can I get you to engrave this? And it was like a $2,000 something or another. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it, because I'd have to charge you $2,500 to be able to make any money if I messed it up, So you have to consider those things.
Seth Rosenberg's asking, have either of you read Adam Savage's book, Every Tool is a Hammer? He has a whole chapter on adhesives. And yeah, as a matter of fact, technically I listened to it as an audiobook, and I think I listened to it coming back from Georgia after visiting Clack a couple of years ago. And that was, it didn't, I think, it was about the whole trip, 16 to 20 hours of listening to Adam Savage. So, but no, it's a good book, and he's a good, definitely. If you're not following Adam Savage and getting some tidbits from him, definitely check him out from his Mythbuster days. But he's got his whole tested channel. As a matter of fact, back when I was doing the foam flight model airplane stuff, one of my contacts and colleagues within the hobby was writing some of the robotics and RC topics for them. So he was able to get one of my products highlighted through their website as a thing, which was kind of cool. But yeah, no, I enjoy Adam Savage, and that is a good book to read or grab the audiobook.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Rich agrees with me on the turning the job down, unless you, like I said, if you own a motorcycle shop and this is something that you're going to offer to clients or whatever, and you have the parts to test, then maybe it's worth it. But other than that, it's risky. It's like I told a guy the other day, if you're an FFL and you've got inventory that you can practice on, and if you screw it up, it's yours, maybe you want to get into it. But I mean, if not, better be careful messing with, the firearm that was handed down from great granddaddy, because you messed that up, and I mean, it's not going to be good for business.
You want to be very sure about that one.
Yes. Papa Ragu says, sorry guys if I missed it, but I'd like to answer, do you know any good deals on machines for Amazon Prime days? I don't. I've been busy. I haven't really been looking.
Yeah,
little marketplace.
That's coming up in June, and sometimes they'll send affiliates kind of a sneak preview on certain deals, but with it's Amazon, it's kind of like getting the Black Friday ads for the Mall of America. You got to sort through every single deal to find some of the stuff. So depending on the day, sometimes I'll try to dig through that and try to see what I actually look for outside of machines, because I'll be honest, most of the machine sales it's pretty constant. They put a new spin on it. Mother's Day sale, save $200. Father's Day sale, save $225, or get this
I
extra.
changed my shirt sale.
You're gonna pay probably within about 5%, unless they're blowing out the machines because they're bringing out a new unit. That's probably when you're going to see the biggest price drop across most of the manufacturers. So, but what I do look for in Prime Days is like the materials I use. So if I'm going through a lot of, like the dog tag blanks, or, some of the tumblers that I use for blanks that I might get from Amazon, I'll look for those deals. Slate coasters, I look for some of those things as a good time to like maybe save an extra 25% on those kind of staples that I have in my shop that I use, over, trying to find a really smoking deal on those machines, unless you're actually looking at one of those machines and it's really at retail right now, and what's coming up might be worth the wait. But generally, a lot of times those sales you're going to be pretty close to that price. Just make sure you never pay the retail price for it. There's probably a sale for something coming around the corner. Jake Briley's asking about Acmer question. I was wondering what it takes for me to upgrade my Acmer S1 Pro to a 10 watt from a 6 watt. I see the module is only $15. Do you know if it is plug and play? The only thing that might be different on those could be like maybe the power supply, but I would be surprised if the jump from a 6 watt to a 10 watt drives that. But I don't know 100% for sure. Like that low wattage, I doubt there's going to be much of a driver board change or anything. So,
yeah.
But yeah, if you can go from 6 to 10 for $15, it's a pretty good deal.
Chris is saying, for unique products, I've seen people use a disclaimer about not replacing items due to failure. Yeah, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But me personally, like I said, I'm not hurting for work that much. Anything that could give me a bad reputation out there or end up with me sitting in small claims court trying to defend a thing that somebody signed that had one word listed wrong, no thanks. I'm good. I'll just pass, and I'll go make my money on something else. So, I mean, I know there's people that do it other ways, and their situation is different than mine. I mean, if you're a big business that has a bunch of employees and you have an attorney that you keep on retainer and all these things, then you go handle things a lot different than, the one-man show over here that really, I mean, I'm not necessarily trying to feed a family off of this. I mean, I enjoy it. I like it. If I don't make money out here in my business don't get to spend any money. That's the way it works for me. I'm not, this is not necessarily my household income. That is over there. So I'm not willing to take those chances because I'm not that hungry. You know what I mean? If I were needing the job, maybe, but those people that have those kind of jobs are going to come to you one time, and you're going to do that job, which is going to be a high risk job. And then you'll probably never see them again. Maybe you get lucky and they tell somebody with another high risk job to bring it to you. But typically those are going to be low reward scenarios. I would rather do work for the business in town that's like, hey, I sell these things, and I have a lot of people coming in all the time asking me, what is the turtle box? The new turtle box thing that everybody wants. It's like it's a speaker, but it's magnetic, and you can like stick it to your side by side or your boat or whatever. It's just a big like boombox speaker, and they're like $400. And they're like, hey, I got people coming in wanting those, but they want their name engraved on it because it's a $400 item. And so, it's not a bad idea to put your name on it in case somebody snags it off your golf cart or whatever. And in that situation, my answer is yes, I could do it, but I need you to provide me a couple of the snap-on plastic covers for testing. And now I've got a job that I've been able to thoroughly test, and they're sending me work every week. Those are the jobs that I want, not the high risk stuff. That's just not my thing. I mean, I used to be an adrenaline junkie, but I've had my heart nearly burst out of my chest because I'm engraving a $6,000 pendant. It was not fun for me. because the lady waits until I start engraving it to go, yeah, that's like $6,000 and it came from my great-great-grandmother. And I'm like, why is this in my laser? And my heart hit my feet because I'm like, if this goes bad, I just spent $6,000 trying to make 25. You know, it just don't make sense to me. But to each his own.
Yeah, if I'm not comfortable replacing it, or if I can't replace it, I'm generally going to turn it down. But another good habit to get into, even on items that you can replace, get into your workflow with, send out some sort of proof. Especially if you can send it out from like Lightburn, where you're actually setting up the job. Just have them kind of do a final, like, yep, it looks good. The spelling is right.
Yeah, for spelling.
The date is right for whatever, have them check that thing and keep that. That can save you a lot of headache of, hey, you did this wrong. And if you just did 50 tumblers for them with, something wrong on them and you didn't get their approval. I mean, if they approved it, then you're like, well, you were good with the proof. You can spend a lot of money even on non-high-end items. So it's good just to kind of add that into your workflow if you're dealing with even business to business or retail customers.
Yeah. Yeah, here's this is the thing I was talking about. These have gotten really popular around here with the people camping, golfing, and all that. It's a speaker. That's all it is. But they're expensive, and people are getting to where they like you can mix and match the colors, like the different grills, the different handles, the different things. And people are getting out of where they're also wanting them to be engraved. And I think you can order them already engraved if you order them from like this company that sells them. But there's some places in town that have hit me up recently about, hey, can you engrave these? And of course, my answer is I can, but I'm going to need, like for this thing here, I would need this top part, or at least some part that is the same type of material to be able to find my settings before I'd feel comfortable doing them. Because those covers are replaceable. They're just not cheap. So that's something that I've been kicking a can around about up here, because apparently they've gotten really popular with a lot of the golfers, because if you're going to rent a golf cart, you just take that with you and it like magnetically attaches to the golf cart or the camper or the side-by-side or the tractor or the boat or whatever. So apparently they're pretty popular.
Rob's wondering why I was in Georgia driving back from Alabama.
Because he's driving the map.
So, one of my other hobbies is model aviation, and I used to go to an event down in Americus, Georgia, which is down the southwest corner. And a couple of the years, I stopped by Clack's place, said hey, stayed overnight, or the one time stayed a few days, and then drove on over, and then had to drive home. I don't like going through Atlanta, so sometimes one time I actually went down to Florida to see my friend, and then I kind of skirted up the East Coast. The other time I just went back kind of towards through the Clanton area, and avoiding Atlanta. Even at 3 a.m., Atlanta it's not fun to drive in. So
no.
Yeah, that's why I was in that area. And the last time I was at David's house, I cannonball run back home because it was after Workbench Con and there was an ice storm coming through the Midwest, and I wanted to be in front of it. So
yeah,
I left your place at like 7:30. You were going to work, and I was heading home, and
drove all day.
Well, I got to the point where I was in central Iowa, and I was like, it was like about 9 p.m. And I'm like, well, I either get some coffee, turn the radio up, and drive another 4 hours, or I pay $100 and some odd for a hotel room and get up in the morning and hope the state isn't iced over. So I did the whole drive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend that anymore, though.
Greg says, okay, somehow I missed changing the build plate to smooth. Maybe that'll help my print. Yep, that'll do it. Because it does change a few settings, especially if you're using these cool plates, because it changes the bed temperature. because these cooler plates, the bed temperature is lower than it is on the even the smooth PEI plate. So.
Diamond State Precision's asking, I've been working on some red silicone tags. My CO2 etched them, but no dark color to the engrave. What would be a good fill, paint, or ink? That silicone does not really, I mean, they make molds out of it because
nothing sticks
come off of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a great bed for the E1, the Eufy, because the stuff will peel right off of it too. So you can mark it with like a UV laser. It'll turn dark ones light or light ones a little bit dark, kind of like a grayish tint, whitish tint. But yeah, it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, see, I poured this full of epoxy the other day, and it just popped out and didn't even leave a mark.
Nope.
Speaking of which, there you go. All those little test cards that I did, and I threw them all in a jar. There it is. This is from a lot of testing and stuff. I took a jar and I would get the little pieces of acrylic when I was testing CO2 lasers, and I would just throw it in a jar. I threw a little bit of wood in there too. But the other day when I was doing an acrylic project, I poured my acrylic over in this little mold there and dumped all of those pieces off in there with it. And that's what I end up coming up with. It's really not functional. It's shaped like a cutting board.
It's like the worst pickleball paddle ever.
I'm just using it for decorative purposes. I figure it would make a pretty cool, like if I was taking pictures of something or whatever. But I had it hung on the wall over there. I just put me a screw in the wall, hung it up. Because I'm like, it's really not functional for much. Because it is acrylic, but it has some air gaps because of the pieces and stuff. So it's not going to be very sturdy. But there you go. It's pretty interesting to me though.
Chris is wondering if anyone sent me new glue to review yet. No.
Start reviewing glue. That's gonna be fun.
Who was it?
It's cooled now. You can see where this plate's like warping up because the prints adhere to it so good.
Who was it? There was someone at Workbench Con that had glue that they were like, well, I'd love to get your feedback on it. And I never reconnected with them.
Oh, well, was it the Boss Dog guys?
No, because I talked with them. It was, what's his name with the CNC? Down in Arkansas.
Oh, PWN.
Yeah, PWN.
Yeah, he had the CA glue with the black and yellow painter's tape.
Yeah. I never reconnected with him. So
what is his name? Yeah, I can't remember his name. I sat and talked to him over at the Workbench Con. Yeah, see, I love that. That's the bottom. That's the build plate side of these things. It just looks sharp.
It's looking good.
Daniel. Cody said it. It's
there
Daniel.
You go, Daniel. Yeah. I feel bad. I should remember his name, but yeah, Cody. No, I like the Boss Dog glue. I haven't gotten their CA glue, but their white PVA. I'm loving that. So
yeah. Now, Rob, that was those were from a laser. I do have a bag of printer poop coming, or it's over there that I'm collecting.
Would you buy some?
No, I've got it. I'm collecting it, but mine don't create that much because I don't do multicolor a lot. I just get the purge, periodically. But I'm collecting it. I'm gonna come up with something for that. So we'll see.
You gotta print more different colors.
I just don't really have a need for it. I mean, I did have like my little containers that I did, but if you want multicolor, you just take the lid off of one, put it on the other. So I did these in all different colors. I designed that with the threads on them and everything. What I'm thinking about making, I'm gonna make me a genie bit holder, and I'm gonna fix it to where you can put your genie bits down in there and screw the lid on it. Have like a little insert in there,
So here's what you need to do.
Woo! Hey, where's my little figurine at? I see yours over there with the crossbow looking thing.
That's no. It's Chewbacca.
Well, it's close enough to Bigfoot.
Uh-huh. Well, he's not there, but Doc Brown with the white hair, he could be a good you. He even has a little bit of orange on him, but
yeah,
print out
Rob,
a few of those, you'll get some stuff.
Yeah, the lens covers are kind of the same way. They're not multicolor per se. The text is, but I don't consider that multicolor because it prints a certain color up to a certain height and then it swaps. So it's just like one transition. It's really not back and forth. But the lens cover, the individual parts, I print those in one color and then I just assemble them afterwards. So I don't do a lot of like this, the figurines and stuff. I just don't do a lot of that.
Oh, I don't think I took a picture of that.
What's that?
The Doc Brown one.
Mm.
I do have this. This is a cool place here in town. Signature Inked. So they're a 3D printing store.
I thought it was going to be a tattoo shop.
No, but oops, it's the wrong way. That's the wrong way too. Okay.
Ooh, that's a rough looking dude.
So yeah, they sell a lot of, printed items, but what's really nice is they have this whole row of filaments and they're pretty reasonable price. They're, around 15, 16 on up for PLA on up through. They have PETG, they got some ABS, they got all sorts of kinds. So definitely nice local resource here. Talked with the guy there a little bit yesterday about what they're doing and such, or a couple days ago anyway. So
yeah,
I enjoy having that here in town.
Yeah, we don't have that.
And then right next to them is they call it the Midwest Mercantile or Midwest Maker Mercantile. So it's a couple that I think it's more the wife was trying to spin up her own maker business, and then they moved here to this area, and eventually they're like, hey, if we band together with other makers, we could do a store. So it's kind of like a quasi consignment shop kind of thing, but they have an F1 Ultra and an F2 Ultra, I think, in their shop to do on spot custom engraving, which makes it hard for me to do some of those things because there's, they got the spot in the local mall to really.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure when you search your area, laser engraving, they probably popping up pretty quick.
Yeah. So that kind of adds some competition there, but I've also talked with them a bit. They follow me on socials and such, and I definitely have that whole kind of ethos of a rising tide raises all ships, and supporting each other, we all do better. And so, I don't look at it as just competition, but yeah, it is competition if I want to do what they're doing, but you find your own niche, and that's kind of where you get into like, hey, I don't do that, but they do that. So
yeah, this is let me show you where I kind of like my thing. This is my thing. So if you go to Google and you type in Central Alabama laser engraving, there you go. So now you've got a few other places too that show up in the search, but yeah, that one right there. 5+ years. Now you've got some other folks that are doing it also. This is a sign and banner shop down in Montgomery. Laser cutting services up in Birmingham, another place over in Birmingham. But if you look on Google Maps, there's not many. You got me right here. This is my buddy Tim up at the trophy shop, CNC Trophy. That's where they do their stuff at. But pretty much all of this area right here in the central part of Alabama, what's that, maybe 10? So, yeah, that's how I like it. And then, like I said, over here, I've got my check mark and everything on my business profile. And so that does help make sure I get closer to the top. If you notice, none of these other folks have their little blue check mark. And so, therefore, they're all below me. But I've went through all of the steps of making sure that my My site on Google, my Google listing is up to date and all that stuff. I also have a little sign over here, which not everybody does it, but I have people go in and do my Google reviews when they come by and get stuff done or whatever. So yeah. But those are some of the things. If you're just starting out, make sure you pay attention to this stuff, because you're going to want to search yourself and see how well you're doing on that kind of thing for the physical products and so forth. And like I said, and I don't even advertise because I don't have a storefront per se. So I'm not really pushing for people to like show up at my house, because literally my shop is in my backyard. So if you are starting out and you're trying to get the word out there, spend time, claim your Google listing, make sure it's you, make sure it's set up properly, do everything you can to make it look legit, and just get yourself out there. Like I said, because a lot of businesses they're still old school, and they think that as long as they're in the phone book, they're good. And it's not how it works these days. As you can look at this map right here, like I said, this is half of Alabama. You got Montgomery, the state capital, here, and you got Birmingham, one of the biggest cities in the state, here. And I'm right in between. And it's me and my buddy Tim over at CNC Trophy. That's it. Like, you can back up in the whole state of Alabama. Like, there's what we got. So, yep. One more little tip for you.
Yep.
I didn't realize I had that many reviews. I got 12 reviews now.
Rich wants to know what's a phone book.
Hey, you'd be surprised how many people around here. I have them hit me up. They're like, "Hey, we're going to sell ads in the phone book." And I'm like, "Do they still print one?" But yeah, they still do. There's people that still print them. I'm like, that's got to be some of the cheapest marketing, because no, I don't. It would be hard for me to believe anybody uses an actual phone book anymore. But there's people out there that still sell them.
Yeah. I don't think. Well, I mean, even the local phone companies are stopping their whole copper deployment of stuff. So
yeah,
it's all going IP and cellular. So
yep. But anyway, we have run a little bit over tonight, which, I mean, that's not much.
Yeah.
Not here, Dave. Oh, they don't have a phone book down there. Yeah, I don't know. You'd be surprised. A lot of it's not necessarily the phone companies that do it anymore. It's usually these third-party marketing companies that are still trying to hang on to some of the old school stuff. We have like I sat through a thing the other day. I say the other day. It's actually been about a year now. But there was a company trying to sell the city some marketing stuff that they were doing. And they were trying to whoa everybody, talking about, oh yeah, we get 100,000, like basically the views, impressions. We get 100,000 impressions a month. And I'm sitting there thinking in my head how many impressions I get a month on my little old, backwoods YouTube channel. And I'm like, y'all are seriously fixing to charge this much money for 100,000 impressions. 100,000 impressions is nothing, because that doesn't guarantee people's going to click through. That just means they're going to see it. And I'm thinking, if that's all you can muster as a TV station, you're on your way out, because that's nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cody, I hope it's an older one, because the more modern phone books they're kind of skinny.
Yeah.
Might not have much stopping power.
Hey, I was going to say, no, you wouldn't want to use a Chilton County phone book for that, because our phone books are literally at the peak. I think they were maybe a half-inch thick, maybe. And most of that was advertisements.
You know what you need? You need the Uline catalogs. They seem to like ship those out. The minute you buy anything from them, you're on the list to have Uline catalogs come in the mail. And
oh yeah.
I'm like, I am not going to look at this. I'm going to go to your website and search. So
yeah, I think a lot of companies are getting away from that now, especially like Uline's catalog is massive.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a book.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, we're about 20 minutes over, and
yep, I gotta get up out of this chair.
time to
I've been being lazy today, so I've been sitting in a chair a lot. I got to move around a little bit.
There you go. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone. We'll be back at it next week. We got like one more in May, and then we'll be hitting June. So
yeah,
I'll be on the road this week, but I'm hoping to drop a video probably Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm editing it so I get it dropped either before or the day I leave. And I did get out earlier this week and put another video out on my outdoor channel. So, if you want to kind of follow along with some of the outdoor adventures I get into, want to see some of the cool places around Minnesota and other places, love to have you over there. And mostly just kind of some fun stuff that I get into. It's going to be a lot of kind of outdoorsy hikes and biking and camping, but we'll mix in some other cool things. Maybe go visit the biggest ball of twine wound by a single person. Weird Al made a song about it. But
I'm trying to find your channel where I can drop a link.
But yeah, go check that out, and always appreciate the views and the comments and everything on all of our other videos as well. So yeah.
But yeah, we appreciate it. Like I said, also, if you get bored and want to go check out the other channel on my end, I haven't put out much this week. It's been kind of busy. But yeah, that's always over there too on the clay side of things. But yeah, had somebody asking about white acrylic. Hate to cut you short, but with white acrylic, it's going to be very helpful if you have a CO2 laser, because although I'm not going to say you can't do it with a diode, you'll burn your house down trying. But you possibly could. But a blue diode is going to do terrible at white acrylic, so you're going to want to use CO2 for that. And then whatever kind of glue you got, Steve will tell you, it probably needs to be going from a acrylic to a wood. I'm going to guess it probably needs to be super glue to do that. Because I don't know that wood glue would stick to the acrylic well. I think. What do you think? Super glue.
See, the problem is super glue is it's a crystalline type glue, and so it's very brittle.
Kind of easy.
So if you're doing face to face, you're going to want to scuff up the acrylic on the edge that's going to go to the wood and give it something to bite into. If possible, I'd use more like a contact cement that's kind of more like a rubbery. It's going to have a little more grip.
Yeah, some liquid nails.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, you got to be careful with that, because if it's a shiny surface, it doesn't have much that it's gonna grab to.
It's like trying to walk on a tin roof in your socks.
Okay.
You ain't never been on a tin roof in your socks, man.
No,
you have not lived.
Why would I?
I don't know.
First off, that's gonna hurt more. It's either gonna be hot or it's gonna cut your feet up.
Oh, me mercy. I was on a roof with my uncle when I was younger, and it was a tin roof, and we were up there getting the leaves and pine straw off the roof, and I look over, and all of a sudden he disappeared. He had slid all the way off the roof and fell like 20 feet. Luckily, he landed in a big pile of leaves that we were raking off the roof, and it didn't kill him. So, yeah. But anyway, just if you ever do get on a roof, don't wear your socks.
Any roof, you should have proper footwear.
Oh, y'all have a good one. We enjoyed it, and we'll see you next Sunday.
See you, everyone.